Welcome to the Act Dad Guide of month 3 of your child's life. If you haven't already made it to month 3, click this link to check out the playlist starting from month 1, because today we're talking all about what you can expect during month 3. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to channel Act Dad. I'm bringing you weekly content to help you be the best dad you can be. That said, let's get into it. So month 3 is a really special month. For me, one of the most exciting months of your kid's life. For the first 60 days, you're not getting very much interaction. But month 3, you're going to start to see some really cool things happen. Your kid is going to be more self-sufficient. It's going to be looking around much more purposefully. They're going to be starting to grab at objects. And the biggest thing for you as a parent is going to be smiling. You're going to start to get some real smiles. Every day, your child's senses and motor function skills are going to be improving and developing, and every day their social skills are going to continue evolving. It's a really exciting time, both in their life and in yours. A couple notes on nutrition. If your baby is hungry, feed them. Don't think that they're getting too chunky or too fat. All those jelly rolls and flab, that's going to grow out over time, so don't worry about that. You also want to avoid juice. Juice is full of sugar. They don't need it. They shouldn't have it. Avoid giving them juice. And I would caution you, avoid using food as a pacifier. Just because your kid's crying doesn't necessarily mean that they're hungry. Of course it could, in which case you would feed them. But if they get used to getting fed every time they cry, they're going to require that they get fed every time they cry. And that's not going to lead to a very sustainable lifestyle. You want your child to be able to self-soothe, to handle problems on their own. Don't just give them food every time they cry. You're setting yourself up for a problematic situation in the future. If you're liking what I'm saying, I would also recommend that you check out this book, The Mayo Clinic Guide to the First Year. It's very inexpensive and will give you some great and in-depth tips that I can't get into during this short video. So check it out. I'll leave a link in the show notes below. When it comes to movement and body development, you will notice that your kid is getting stronger. Their head is getting more stable. They can kind of look around a little bit. It doesn't need quite as much support. The neck is getting stronger. You'll also notice that they start to become fascinated with things around them, particularly their hands. They might start trying to suck their thumbs or fingers. They're bringing their hands to their face and kind of examining. Maybe they're kicking things with their feet. They start to get more motor function, and so they're just kind of experimenting with what they can control. I also want to give you a big warning here. This is a time in your child's development where their legs are starting to get strong and they might roll over accidentally. Never, for any reason, leave your kid in a potentially precarious situation. Don't leave them on a high bed or a changing table unattended, because there is a possibility at this time that they might roll over, and you do not want them rolling and falling. Bad news. So make sure that you keep them attended and not in a situation where they could roll over and fall. Let's talk a little bit about their senses. At this point, the baby's eyes and vision is almost completely developed. They can focus on far objects, they can focus on close objects. They're also starting to notice colors more. So giving them access to bright colors and taking them out into places where they can kind of look at a scenario will just flood their brain with information. It's a really good thing to do. One of the things that makes this stage of your baby's life really, really exciting is communication. For the first time in their life, they're starting to try to communicate with you. Cooing and gooing and blurbing. They're going to start to make noises because they know they can get a response out of you when they do. It's a really great idea to respond back to them. If they coo at you, coo at them. Try to get them used to this back and forth communication of child and dad. You can also start talking in parentese, which is a mix between baby talk and parent talk, adult talk, and just mixing it into kind of like a cutesy wootsy type of talking, very soothing. That's a good way of communicating with a baby. Again, our goal here is to help them develop, and part of that development is pausing like you would in a normal conversation. So maybe you say oogie boogie to them, you wait for a response, and then when they respond back, you kind of get that back and forth going. This will get them used to communicating with humans early, and you cannot start early enough. As I mentioned before, this time of life is really special because they're smiling and they're starting to look at you, recognize you, and smile. This is a great time to start introducing other social aspects. Your kid now knows that when they smile or look at someone, they're starting to get a response back. This is a great time to consider adding a grandparent or a trusted babysitter into the mix. You and your partner deserve a little bit of time out from the house to reestablish sanity. It can be really hard getting away from your child, but this type of social development is really important, not just for you as a parent, but also for them. Because one day when you drop them off somewhere, they're going to be crying and moaning. You really want to get them used to being around other people and social early. Look, kids need gobs and gobs and gobs of attention. They need so much attention. So one of the things you might try if your baby's crying, immediately give them attention. Maybe pick them up, maybe talk to them, maybe play with their belly or try to play a little game with them. But don't just go straight to food like I mentioned before. Try interacting with them. They love attention. Now let's get into the fun stuff. Different ways that you can interact with your 3-month-old that's going to help them develop some great skills. At this point, they might enjoy holding on to a lightweight object. Look, they're not going to have great grip yet, but you can try giving them little lightweight objects like rattles. Nothing sharp, nothing small that they could choke on, but rattles, soft balls and blocks. These types of things are great to kind of start experimenting with. You also want to avoid any sort of plastic bag or plastic wrap, as these types of items can get caught in their throat. Don't want that. You can also encourage rolling, but avoid pushing or pulling your child. That can be a little risque, and we don't want to push them too hard, but definitely encourage them to start rolling because that is coming next. At this point, it's all about experimentation for your kid. So laying out a mat, giving them more tummy time, maybe laying them on their back and helping them to feel different items. Is this item soft? Is this item hard? Is this item fuzzy? Give them different types of items to interact with, because this type of experience for them will be extremely positive in helping their development. One of the things that I love doing with my kid is batting practice. And what I mean by that is I lay him on his back on a mat and I let him kind of kick at this little hanging object. It's kind of a really cool thing to watch. So that's another item that you can put on your agenda for month 3. Of course, gentle tickling on the tummy, blowing raspberries on their tummy, watching for their response. Kids love it. So when you're tickling and coochie coochie coo, that type of thing, and they smile back, make a big deal of it. That's really important that when they smile, when they laugh, you respond. Because what we really want them to know is that communication is a two-way road. When they make some sort of funny gesture, you respond back, and that's how the communication happens. So make sure that you're playing with them, interacting with them, and responding when they do something back at you. Before I leave you, I also want to remind you that every baby develops differently. If your baby's not doing some of this stuff yet, or maybe they've been doing it for a month, look, that's normal. Every baby develops a little bit differently. If you have any questions, definitely talk to your pediatrician. At this point in time, you're going to be visiting the doctor very regularly. So write them down as your questions come up and make sure you talk to your doctor. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Mark Swan. This has been another Act a Dad production. Make sure that you like this video and comment. What are some questions that you have about month 3? What are some concerns that you have about your baby's development? If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the Act a Dad channel. Every week, I'm bringing you fresh content to help you be the best dad you can be. In the meantime, enjoy month 3. I will catch you next month for month 4. Peace.